Alright folks, today is October 1st, it's time for another Aquaponics update, and I might as well do my wicking bed update too at the same time. What I'm going to do today is, here's my peach tree that's telling me it's fall time. It's the only tree in my yard, and the sunchokes are blooming, even though they got knocked over in the hurricane. What I'm going to be doing here today is I'm going to transplant some of these this dwarf kale that I started from seed at the beginning of last month. I'm going to try to transplant some of those into my aquaponics system, and then all the lettuce that is in here has been getting torn up by the roly-polies, so I swung by Home Depot and got some more lettuce. So I'm going to transplant some into here, and then I'm also going to transplant some of that into the aquaponics system. So it's actually butter crunch lettuce that I'm going to be putting in here, which is the exact same thing I started from seed. So hopefully I can combat... Oh, I got some black soldier flies flying around. But hopefully I can combat the roly-polies. They actually are starting to attack the kale now too a little bit. But that's the only downside about these beds, man. Roly-polies love this stuff. But so in the future I'll probably have to do all transplants to put in here. Because as soon as the seeds started sprouting up, they just there was a whole row of baby plants, lettuce through here, and they just keep tearing it up. Like you can see all the leaves are getting torn off. Some of the stuff gets left alone, and then they tore up through all there. So, and for my wicking bed, I will say that all this rain we've been getting, these things fill up with mosquitoes. Whew, I need to get a little piece of something to cover it with. Like, let's see if I can zoom in on one of these mosquitoes here. It won't focus. There's mosquitoes lining the walls of that stuff down there. There'll be like 20 of them come out. And sometimes it's like little swarms. Alright, on to the aquaponics system. Alright, so as soon as I'm done messing with all this today, I'll do another water pH test, because I haven't done it in a couple of weeks since I took the tomatoes out of the system. But as you can see, all the cucumbers and stuff, they're all powder mildewed out. So all the leaves are falling off and everything. I'm just going to go ahead and yank those out, and I'm going to try to clean this up so I can transplant some lettuce in here and not have the lettuce all shaded out. Like, actually, some of the cucumber vines don't look too bad. This is the south side of the greenhouse. My lemon balm, as you can see, is doing pretty good. I'm going to probably go ahead and rip out these chives and this garlic chive patch to go ahead and make some more room. The basil is still doing great. I still just keep pinching off the flower heads. Like, this is one of the branches that fell over that has now got a bunch of more heads coming up. It's kind of funny, it falls over and then you got these little heads that start coming up. So it's like this one little patch of plants that all start right there that actually turning into some massive heads of more basil. But the fig tree, I remember it was hitting the top of the roof and I cut off the top. Already updated you on all that, and then it's got figs now. But these branches that are coming off, these are all little side branches that are now also hitting the roof, and they're actually pushing my whole fig tree over. Like, it was going straight up right there, and now it's slowly getting pushed over. So I'm going to cut those off again and straighten it back up. I'll try to leave the figs on though. The bluegill stuff that are in here, they're actually doing a pretty good job eating the food. It's very hard to see in there though compared to the goldfish. But they actually just got fed, it looks like. So, oh, there's one right there. I don't even know if you saw it. Pretty much impossible to see. Anyways, they're eating their food. Goldfish still seem to be happy. They're eating all their stuff. So, I'm gonna have to take this out of here. This was a cool idea to like pull air into the thing, but now obviously this pipe isn't perfectly clean. So I came out here this morning and there was water trickling out of the top of this because there's back pressure on this. So I stuck this pipe on here to keep it from overflowing. But I'm obviously gonna have to cap that off. The water's not flowing like it used to. There's a few jalapenos I've missed, but actually just took like a huge bowl full of jalapenos off of this bush. You'll notice now that the pH is coming down, look how nice and dark green these leaves are. Here's the bell peppers that are doing awesome. Jalapeno, it's actually darker than the bell pepper now. So obviously those have darkened up a lot over the last few weeks. just bringing the pH down. So it must have had a nutrient lockup, or just put into an area where the jalapenos are happier. So since the soil in this bed has dropped so much, as you can see, like looking at the worm tower, the soil, they used to be under soil, all those little horizontal lines there. So the soil level has dropped a lot. I grabbed a few more bags of dirt. I'm actually going to plant another story of lettuce underneath my bell peppers. Hopefully they won't mind me piling a bunch of dirt on the roots, but it should be fine. And then I'll show you what all this looks like after I clean it up. Alright, to answer a question of whether or not you'll find critters in your aquaponics bed, I just got done ripping all this stuff out, and so far I've seen roly-polies, saw snails, and now I just got done lifting this mat of chives back, and there's ants. They actually cleaned up pretty quick. There they are. Look at that, they got eggs and everything down there. So I actually have an ant colony in my aquaponics flooded drain bed, so yeah, that's pretty cool. Oh, and here's the fig tree, the base of it. This little tiny twig right here is what I started it from. That's how big it was. I stuck this little twig. See how skinny it is compared to my finger? Normal size hands. I don't have bear gloves, bear mitts for hands. Little tiny twig. Stuck it in there, and now I've got a tree that is fruiting and hitting the roof. I cut the top off, and now the side shoots are also hitting the roof, all in one season. I'm gonna pull this mat out and hopefully it won't get tore up by ants. Alright folks, I'm making some more progress in here. You see the fig tree that's laying across there? I just ripped out the chives and garlic chives back there, which they pretty much, their root mass took up this whole back area. And now I'm trying to get the fig tree out. I cut all of this last month's growth off, all those little side shoots. And while I was at it, I went ahead and sadly, yes, I cut the top of it off and several of the figs. But I decided I was going to get this out of here. The whole reason why I did aquaponics is to grow lettuce for my wife. And hopefully strawberries and other things. And this right here is obviously going to shade out the lettuce. So I'm trying to get this out of here. And these roots have got taken over the entire bed. This fig tree roots are, some of these things are, like, see how big and girthy this guy is? Like, I just had to snap them off. Here, I'll show you. I'm trying to pull it out of the ground still. And the entire, I'm like lifting up this whole half of the bed here. Like this whole thing. Like, I took, you know, like the top couple inches of this is clay hydroton. And when you get down deeper, I have actual normal 3/4 inch. Oh, it's like I'm blowing some ants off my hand. Sorry. I got 3/4 inch granite gravel down here underneath. That was just to support the plants, like if I grow like tomatoes and whatnot in here over the years. And it was cheaper. But it is locked into that granite. So I'm going through and trying to slowly and carefully get as many roots as I can on this tree. Obviously it's not even ready to go dormant yet, so this might kill it. But I'm going to transplant it into probably that half of a wine barrel right there. You can't see it. It's next to my other bed. It's behind that little children's thing. I'm going to try to transplant it into a container. And then hopefully this thing will live. If not, oh well. I can clone as many as I want to every year. I can turn this whole thing into a solid mini forest and then transplant it once everything goes dormant if I wanted to. So if you guys were actually like cloning trees in aquaponics system, you can really create a forest in something this small every year. Hopefully I didn't kill this little guy right here. This is that black mulberry tree cutting. It's pushed over. It's actually like in the ground, like right around here. So the gravel is shifting and everything. So hopefully that won't kill that clone. But if you guys can get good at it and practice different methods, I'm sure you can actually clone some serious stuff in his systems. And just think about it. A fig tree of that size in a container is going to go for what, $40 at a local store. So if you made say I had aquaponics the size of that area around the playground there, You could probably make a couple hundred little fig trees in an aquaponic system in that big of a space. And that can provide a good income for you. And it wouldn't just have to be fig trees, you know. You don't want to flood the market and drop the price. Alright, so here's where I'm at now. What I'm going to do is all these lettuce plants that have multiple heads of lettuce in them, I'm definitely going to put those in the aquaponics system. See, a lot of them have two, now one has 3. So a lot of those are going to the aquaponics system. I'm just going to rinse the dirt off the roots and stick them in. And then the other ones that have singles, I'll put some in here. Hey look, it's a cabbage looper butterfly looking for some kale to put some eggs on. Got the kale's right there. Didn't find it. That's something I do have a lot of issues with in this area. Alright folks, I pretty much butchered my fig tree cutting that I had in the aquaponics system. I just cut the top off and cut a bunch of branches off and fruit off and ripped it out of there. I was as gentle as I could be, but I was pretty much lifting up my entire bed worth of gravel. That thing's roots were everywhere. Like, you can see the longest root that remained attached. I probably ripped off like half the roots, but I have a size 12 foot, so that's about a foot long. 2, 3, 4, just shy of 5 feet worth of roots. So I still got a pretty good root mass for the size of the tree it is. Obviously, that's why I thought it was ready to fruit. Alright, so I'm going to try to put it in this container here. I'm going to have to clean that out. Right now I just have thyme and a couple of bell pepper plants that are not happy, which this may not be happy after a while, we'll see. And then maybe it'll be able to go dormant and survive till next year. But I heard fig trees do pretty good in containers. That right there's the big ring of thyme. Actually, these were little tiny plants during the spring when I transplanted them. And I'm going to try to leave them in there if I can. If I can dig down to the bottom and just shove all those roots in there and try to get it so it doesn't air prune the roots. We'll see how this works out. Hopefully I can have a little fig tree coming up. Just keep it real small every year. And then a ring of thyme. And then thyme blooms for like a month and a half. So it'll be this big white puff flowers all the way around the ring. It might look nice, we'll see. This right here is some Virginia creeper that is creeped out of my flower bed. I have to go wash my hands. My hands are pretty well covered in all the grime that you'd find in an aquaponics bed. Alright, on to the next step. Okay, so I went over here and thinned out all the kale. You can see where I dug up little patches. I planted way too much in this little bed, but I just dug up to thin out the plants. There's still clusters of plants in here. By the way, I did find some caterpillars in there. They were not the cabbage leaper caterpillars. I fed them to my fish. But yeah, so I have a bunch of tomato plants that are germinating in here. You can see the cilantro. Looks like I spilled some kale seeds in the middle actually. Let me just pull these out. I know it's a waste. But I got a row of cilantro coming up in the middle and then the kale on both sides like I said last month. I just transplanted all that stuff into the greenhouse. I only put like a couple of pieces of lettuce, heads of lettuce in here. We'll see if they even do any good. Here's what's left of the aquaponics system. As you can see, I just ripped everything out of there. So that's how big the bell pepper plants got in there. They're actually starting to do better now that the pH is coming down. Oh, there's the other one. And then that was what's left of the cucumber vines. Found a hidden cucumber. That was a nice little surprise. One last one. And then so I put the lettuce in everywhere. I got lettuce and kale, lettuce. I don't know how well it's going to transplant because I pretty much ripped them apart as gently as I could, but hope you don't mind my cold. That's why I sound funny right now. There's a cherry tomato plant. I don't expect it to do really well, but I'm letting it go and see what it does. It's actually throwing out a couple of things of flowers. Here's the chives I got out of that flower bed over there in the corner. That's where this head of chives came from. You can see that's just the roots that came off with it. Alright, now it's a few weeks later. For some reason my last video got corrupted after I planted everything in there. I ended up giving away all the chive clusters and stuff to my neighbor. So she's got those. As you can see, the lettuce and everything's doing pretty good. And the kale's doing pretty good in all these beds. So, and then the romaine lettuce I put down here is doing pretty well. I also transplanted a bunch of the kales down here. They seem to be doing alright. I've actually just watered them once or twice. Once when I put them in and just last night. And I've planted some cilantro seeds that are just now starting to come up. In between all these, there's actually a bunch of kale that's through here. After I poured that 6 inches of dirt or so on top of this, I figured the roly-polies were buried in there. I didn't get them out of there before I buried them. But that very night, I just saw like an army of roly-polies coming up out of here, and they went through and mowed down all the kale plants. But hopefully they'll leave the cilantro and stuff alone. We'll see how that works out. Alright, stay tuned until next month.